When looking at licensed MP5s, we're going to show you what your money gets you in this episode of the Gear Guide. So if you guys know Elite Force, you know they have a couple tiers of guns in the more professional line of airsoft. They'll have the competition series, and then they have their Elite series. To be honest, it's a little confusing when you're looking at the different price tags. Sometimes there's a big gap in dollars, but you wonder where the gap is in features. Well, I'm going to break it down for you guys today with both of the MP5s that Elite Force offers. So let's start with the externals first. We're looking at the competition gun, and the first thing you notice head to toe is that it is polymer. There's actually only a few things on this gun that's even metal. The trigger, this little sling attachment point here in the middle, a couple body pins, a random part here and there, and the magazine. That is it. Everything else is polymer. That means upper receiver, lower receiver, front handguard, the cocking tube, everything tip to toe you're looking at here is going to be polymer with, I said, the exception of those few things. Now what you get with the polymer is a much lighter package. This thing weighs in about 3 pounds, 13 ounces, which makes it super light. So if you're maybe a smaller player, a younger player, this is a real benefit because you're not hefting a really big gun around. I mean, a little over 3 pounds is nothing when it comes to the airsoft world, and that includes the magazine installed. Now, when you move to the Elite, which I have here in my hand now, things are very different. You get pretty much what you get on the real MP5. The upper receiver, the cocking tube up here, the front sight, all are metal. The rear sight's metal as well as where the mag goes in here, and the trigger and the fire selectors. Now, the lower body is polymer, but the real one is that as well, so you're not getting any sacrifices there. But just like the other one, the front handguard and the rear stock are polymer. Again, just like the real MP5. Now what you do get here as a little bit of a bonus is you get a threaded tip, 14 millimeter counterclockwise, so pretty much any suppressor in the market is going to fit right on this. Now it is polymer, just be mindful, this is not a metal tip, so it's one of the few pieces that is plastic, but the outer barrel behind it is metal. But with metal means more weight, and you're looking at a hair under 6 pounds. This is like 5 pounds, 10 ounces on the scales with the magazine. And now again, both of these are without batteries installed, so you are looking at a little bit heavier gun. Now, it's the MP5, so it's really not that heavy of a platform anyway, but the trade-off for the durability of the metal is that weight. Also, one thing I do want to put a note here is because it's metal, I feel more comfortable putting this on. This aftermarket part, this is a scope rail mount you can add to the attachment points. Now the competition version has those attachment points as well, and just be mindful if you are going to put a scope mount on there, just don't crank it down too hard because it's metal on plastic, because these scope mounts are metal, where it's metal on this one, and that will help you out too. Also, another thing is because you have metal throughout, actually cocking this back to expose the hop-up chamber and doing the old slam forward thing is going to be a little bit more safe to do on the Elite version because you're talking about metal parts versus the polymer parts on the competition one. So when you open the box up with the competition, you get some bonuses actually. You get a battery, you get a charger, and of course you get the gun as well. So that's a really nice thing, is to have those extras. And they even give you a 9.6-volt battery, which is kind of rare with kind of these mid-tier guns. So you actually have a pretty darn decent battery to boot. On this one, the battery does go in the stock. You just kind of flip this end cap down, pop it off, and you'll find it right in here. It does have the fuse here as well, so it is kind of easy to get to. On top of all of that, on the functionality, you do have safe, you have semi, and you have full auto on the select fire modes. And of course on this one, you can pull it back on the charging handle, and you can get into where the hop-ups adjust, which is a bar type hop-up. So moving on to the Elite, the battery goes in a little bit differently. Instead of having the butt pad to remove here, they kind of built this whole thing in and kind of reinforced it. So you have to actually take the whole stock off. It's not a big deal. It's a simple push pin. You pull it right out, and then you can slide the top off if I don't drop the pin there, and you can access the battery. So then you'll put the battery in the stock, you'll connect the wire here, and then you'll put the stock back on the receiver, put that body pin back in, and then you're good to go. So there's really no negative either way between the two. It's just different install methods for the battery. Same goes for the hop-up chamber, same location, same functionality. Pull this back, you can access it, and it is a bar type as well. But you get a huge feature when you're looking at the Pro, something you don't see really in many airsoft guns, period, in this fashion. It is a 3-round burst. So you get safe, semi, 3-round burst, and full auto. So you get an extra fire mode. And what's really neat about the 3-round burst, it's mechanical. It doesn't use a MOSFET to make this happen. So it actually uses a cam system, which is extremely unique. I think so only a handful of guns out there do that, including like the old Marui's 550 and the 551. So this kind of adds to that lineup. And I'll tell you, VFC has really stepped up when they built this. All right, under the hood, you get very different mech boxes as well. With the competition, you get your standard mech box you're gonna get in that sub $200 gun price point. But you do get a little bit longer inner barrel, and it is anodized aluminum. So the inner barrel actually goes to the end of this orange flash hider, almost all the way to the end. In fact, you can kind of touch it here on the inside. As for the motor and the equipment and the parts, you're getting competition level parts, which are good. They're solid, but they're not gonna be the super high-end elite performance parts. So you're gonna see the difference when we get over to the Chrono. But before we do that, let's talk about the Elite version. So talking about the barrel, this one is a brass inner barrel, which I kind of prefer. Again, those things you get when you step up. The motor seems a little bit more torquey, and you get a little more punch under the hood. Also, the mech box is VFC made, so you're kind of getting a step up in quality there with the mech box, as well as the internal gears and all the stuff under the hood. Definitely, I wouldn't feel afraid of throwing a lipo on this and wearing it out all day long. Moving out to the Chrono, on the competition version, we saw around 360 FPS, which is pretty good anywhere. I think it's going to settle down to about 350. So if you guys have an indoor field where your 350 limits, you shouldn't have any trouble with the competition series MP5. Also, rate of fire was a bit over 13 rounds a second, and that was actually using 11.1 LiPo. So the rate of fire is a little bit on the lower side, what I would say for most AEGs out there, but that's actually pretty common with most MP5s. I'm not sure why it is, but most MP5s seem to have a lower rate of fire. Moving over to the Elite, you see a bump in both of those categories. So we're seeing a higher FPS, about 380 FPS on the Chrono, and rate of fire jumps up into the higher 15 rounds a second on that very same battery. So you're seeing a little boost in rate of fire. Again, 15.5, 15.7 is kind of what I would call mid-range for rate of fire. So this thing's definitely not gonna be a BB hose, but it's the right rate of fire to make sure you don't overshoot your opponents. So guys, that's the differences. You know, both do have interchangeable 200-round magazines that come with, and I think the mags are actually pretty much the same. They didn't look very different to me at all. But the big deal here is the price between these two. We're looking at about $145 for the competition gun here on my left hand, which will be on your right side, and then $290 for the Elite version made by VFC. So there's a big difference in price tags, but I'm gonna tell you what, between these two guns, you have a big leap in performance and a big leap in features, especially with that mechanical 3-round burst. I mean, both of them shot really well. The competition shot good, but I'm gonna tell you right now, just using this, and I've had this actual Elite and a competition for a little while now, but I've been using the Elite a little bit more. It is a laser beam. I'm gonna tell you what, for such a short barrel, it shoots really good, surprisingly good actually for such a small barrel. So guys, if you're in the market for an MP5, you've always wanted to know what the difference is and you know what basically $140 some odd difference in price gets you. Well, now you know between the two MP5s by Elite Force. So guys, what do you think about these videos I do, a little side-by-side comparison? When I get a chance like this where I have both the guns in my hand, do you want to see some more of these, or do you want to just stick with one-on-one reviews? In fact, I do have a standalone review of the Elite MP5. I can put a link in the description, or actually I'll put it right over here beside me before the video ends, so you guys can click over and watch it next if you want a deep dive into how it works. Also, are you a fan of the MP5? Do you even like this platform? I know it's kind of aged and a lot of guns have replaced it, for example, the MP7 and the UMP, but do you think the classic looks of the MP5 are still gonna hold up to the test of time? Let me also know in the comment section below. Well guys, that's it for this episode of the Gear Guide. I'll be back in the next episode where I do a side-by-side comparison of Springer pistols to see which one shoots the slowest.